Hello, friends. Welcome to the Expansive CEO Podcast. It is officially February. This episode is airing on February 10th. So we are into February and we're talking about relationships because it's February, right? And in 4 days from now will be Valentine's Day. Um, if you celebrate that or not, I think the 13th is Galentine's Day. If
Yes.
you're
Which will be a Friday the 13th.
It's great. It's a
Yes.
great day. So we wanted to really focus on relationships because this is such, I mean, it's so important to understand your own design and what makes you tick and how you work. But the entire point really is then to understand how you connect with others. Like understanding you then helps you inform how you're either activating others or being activated by them, right? So let's talk about that. Let's start from the very beginning, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to understand. I think you and I both share this principle, and we'll talk about kind of that moving forward, is that it's really what you just said. It's really important to understand yourself. And it's really important to understand other people so that you can both be who you're here to meant to be in connection with one another, but also recognizing the interaction of your energy changes the way each of you sees yourself within the context of someone else's energy.
Ooh, okay. The thing that just came up for me, I heard this. I think it was on Esther Perel's podcast. I think she mentioned it was something around. I'm going to butcher it a little bit. Um, she's a very well-known relationship coach, relationship therapist, really. She said something about like our relationships are more about it's how I feel about myself when I'm with you. Right? Like a big piece of happiness and fulfillment in relationships isn't necessarily how you feel about the other person, but how you feel about yourself when you are with them. And this is a huge, again, like such a big connection point there.
Yeah, because what human design and gene keys shows you is where your, I'm going to say it in the simplest terms, is where your energy meshes or can be similar, and where your energy can conflict. And oftentimes being able to see the areas where your energy conflicts points to what you just said, is how I feel in the context of this relationship. Because regardless if anybody understands the nuances of any of this yet, I think we can all resonate with being with someone. It doesn't matter who, whether it's a friend, whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's a relation or a business partner. You feel a certain way with that person. And then the moment you're not in their aura anymore, you feel differently. And that's what the physical, and I'm going to use the word manifestation is the connection points of your energy that you feel when you feel a certain way. And when you're out of that person's aura, you're like, oh, okay. And it's why with some people, you're like, oh my God, I love being with this person. You can't explain why your energy just kind of, as a generator, I'm going to say bubbles up, because that's what happens, right? It could be different for a projector, a manifestor, or a reflector. And then there's other people where you're like, oh my God, please, I don't know what's going on here, but being in this person's presence, I don't want any part of it. And that's can be the energetic meshing of people's energies coming together.
Mm-hmm. I want to mention a little bit of science in here as well that has corroborated this, even just the auras, and we're going to talk about each aura in a second here, that we have an, each of us have an electromagnetic field, literally like an electricity that comes off of our bodies that is produced just by the fact that we're human. Everything has its own electric field um, around it. And if you want to look it up, it's called the toroidal field. It kind of looks like a donut around you. And it's like the energy going out and the energy coming back in. It's your electronic circulation of your body, and it goes out about 6 feet all the way around you. And so that when you think about that, like when you literally feel different in someone's presence, especially in person for sure. Um, and we can talk, it's really interesting because it's still a thing even when we're on Zoom. Like we don't
1,000%. There are times I'm like, no, I don't know what it is, but it's not this.
that vibe was off. Uh, but that if you think about, okay, everything, like I am literally, my aura is going out at least 6 feet around me, truly electromagnetically, and then people are coming into contact with you, right? So um the vibes are, what you're feeling, the information you're getting from just the area around you, to not put it in such woo terms. I was going to say the field, but just the air, literally the area, the perimeter around your body. Like you are getting information. Your body is receiving information, and taking
Also
that in
giving it off.
and giving, right. That's the out and the in. So with that in mind, each of our types, when we talk about who we are together, each of our types has its own shape as well of aura. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So sorry, I had to like gather my thoughts here. So yes. So every aura type, there's 4 different types. All of those auras act mechanically differently. So generators and manifesting generators, we have an open and enveloping aura. We are constantly drawing things into us. We are magnetic. And on the flip side, that's why our strategy is to respond, is because we are physically pulling something in, whether we know it or not. We are also the ones who are most susceptible to conditioning because of that. So we'll throw out all these things, but it'll all make sense at the end. Projectors have a penetrating aura. They literally, like, think of theirs as like a cone, maybe, like
Yeah, like a
coming
ball with
in.
a point.
Yeah, and going in, and what they're doing, what their aura is doing through they're not doing anything to make it happen, is they are literally going into the G center of everybody else and recognizing what's going on in here. That's why there's the strategy of waiting for the invitation, is because other people, regardless of whether they know it or not, are feeling that penetration. And they're kind of like, No, 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 you don't, I don't want you in here." So that's why the invitation, because you, as a projector, you can feel comfortable, find comfort in that somebody's inviting you. One, because they see and recognize your gifts and talents, and two, they're comfortable being seen by you. Then you've got manifestors. They have repelling auras and closed auras. So, if you think about it in the opposite of a projector, just visually, right? They kind of have like it's just like a barricade around them, kind of thing. And so let's say for a projector, it's hard for them to get in there, but it's really easy for a projector to get into a generator, a manifesting generator. And then finally a reflector, they're out there sampling. If anybody out there who doesn't know, reflectors have no definition. All of their centers are open. They have activated gates that they hook up to other people, and I'll say woo, the program, the universe around us. And they're constantly hooking up. So their auras are designed to just kind of take in and out and just sample what's going on, because they're here to tell us, oh, this is working in the environment or this isn't. And in understanding these mechanics, that's where you've got to that's where you can start understanding, oh, that's how a manifestor is conditioned, or a projector is conditioned, or a generator, or a reflector is conditioned. In understanding that, but then what it also helps you understand is, oh, here are how these two things come together in a relationship,
Uh-huh.
which
Yeah.
then becomes the starting point of, oh, here's how I operate in this relationship.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and, I mean, it's so interesting, to see, over the years, I've pulled so many charts, and a lot of them for, people will be like, "Oh, what about my partner? Can we look at theirs, and can we do," and I'm like, "Yeah, we can even do a connection chart, and we're gonna show you, um, Lauren and I's connection chart in just a second here." Um, but that one is so revealing in so many ways, right? If they're both manifesting generators, or if they're one's a generator and one's a projector, or if they're both projectors, like, oh, that's an interesting one.
Very
Who's
interesting.
inviting who? You
Yeah.
gotta invite each other to everything.
And who's seeing what?
Yes. Um, and so even just from that level of, like, understanding your partners or your children, romantic partner, business partner, children, your parents. I've also had people who are like, "Can we see what my mom was? Because what's going on there?" Like, yeah, let's check it out. And just understanding how other people's, even just their definition,
Yes.
or their type, um, it can make so much sense. Last year we talked a little bit. My husband's family, like, he and his sister are both manifestors, and his middle brother, he's the oldest, sister's the youngest, the middle brother is a generator. Like, "Oh, yeah, you guys are very different." And you can see it. Like, it's so interesting. But once we can see it from, not even necessarily like hindsight being 2020, but just understanding, oh, we're just like, we operate very differently. And then start to understand, especially, the generator need to respond, right? So that's like, this is such a silly example, but I use it all the time. It's like, what do you want for dinner? It's a terrible question, especially for sacral being and a generator. Like, I don't know. I'm like, do you want tacos for dinner? Yes. Or do you want, husband loves pho. Do you want pho? No, I don't want pho tonight.
Yes.
Right? Like those, like being able to communicate. I mean, it's like again, it's a silly example, but it can be expanded to almost anything else.
Right. Well, therein lies, people are always looking for the practical strategies and, how do I make this work? And yes, we are here to get you started, but you've got to figure that out for yourself when you understand the mechanics. But one of the most simplest things when it comes to relationship is when you understand someone else's type, you can then approach them through that lens. So, for you and Adam, you know, him asking you yes or no questions, on the flip side, you informing him, we're having tacos tonight. Oh, okay, great. Or, whatever the case may be. But on the flip side, let's say you're a generator, generator business owner, and you have a projector assistant, right? We'll just go with that, a VA,
Yeah,
right?
we do have that.
I was like, oh my God, yeah. Okay. So let's say you have a projector VA. It's now, okay. How would we position that? I recognize that you are really good at figuring out what isn't working in our processes. Would you be open to running through our SOPs or even creating SOPs about something that you see isn't working so that we can be more efficient?
Yeah, that's and Svetlana has made so many SOPs.
Yes.
I didn't have any of those. I was
Yeah.
like, "It's all up here, baby." I don't know.
Right. And she's got the channel of judgment. So instinctually she can be like, "Oh, honey, that ain't working." And that's great. That's what, is and projectors are here to study systems. So like, sweetheart, just study everything that's going on and then come back and be like, this isn't working. We can recognize you because we've already created the invitation that we want your input. So just keep it coming.
Mhm. Right. Right. And being able to, um, again, especially from a business standpoint, like understand the inherent strengths and the inherent um, mechanics of your team
Yes.
is so pivotal. I mean, like we've talked, maybe we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Or maybe we didn't. I don't know. You and I talked about it, whether it was on camera or not, about how good it feels to me to have someone to build with, right? When I'm like, ooh, let's build this thing. And you're like, oh yeah. And then what about this? And it's like build and build and build and build and build. And that's great. It's so much, like truly, it's so much fun to build with another generator. And I can completely see how we could just like build 100,000 things, just not have a lot of like really good defined direction around it
Yeah.
without other input.
Yes. 99,999. We'd create and be like, yeah, I don't want to do that. That doesn't, I don't like that. But it's also understanding, like generators. I mean, we are here to when you think about like an ideal pairing, and again, I'm going to say this and people might get wrapped around it. There are two ideal pairings, a projector and a generator. The projector can go in and look at, so provided they are correct, look at the generator and say, hey, I see how your energy is not being used efficiently. Let me guide you to get there. And then a generator on the flip side, I've invited you in here, use my energy to do what you need to do. And then generator and generator. Those are the ideal pairings. It's not to say that no other pairing couldn't work. It's not to say that every other pairing is incorrect. It's just that from a mechanical standpoint, those are the quote unquote easiest and most simple because of how the mechanics work together. And for generator on generator, we do need something to respond to. So it is, as business partners, it could be one of us has the inspiration and says, hey, do we want to try X, Y, and Z? I say that to you, you say yes. And then the ideal is you then say it back to me with the understanding and knowing. And I think we have it is like, yeah, I may have said it. And then when you asked it back to me and my energy was like, no, I don't actually want to do that.
Which has happened before.
Yes. And it's being able to understand that and having patience and awareness of like, you, 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 you gotta let the energy do what the energy is going to do and have understanding that it's mechanics and chemistry at play.
Yeah, it's not, um it's bringing up, the 4 agreements for me.
Oh my God. Second time today that's come up. I need to read the book. I need to read. No, no. Clearly the energy has not been.
Don Miguel Ruiz. Yes, it's an important one, and, one of the 4 agreements is to not take anything personally. And that just that agreement of, like, nothing is personal, it helps you to remember that it's a function of the energy mechanics between us, right? Or again, we're talking human design, right? And gene keys. So it's like maybe someone is really experiencing the shadow frequency of what they're going through right now. Or they're really experiencing the not self of the situation right now. Still, that's not about you. That's the experience that they're having. And how we respond to it will or our energy mechanics between the two of us will inform different ways that, that it's going to affect each person. But to like take that lens of like it's not personal or don't take it personally, then we can get into the observer state and come back to, oh yeah, they are a projector and they haven't been invited and they feel that they're feeling very unseen. And that hurts.
Yeah. What also is very illuminating too is when you look at an actual connection chart, there are points in there that will pinpoint where the friction in the relationship can arise. And it's in those spaces specifically, or it's a source of where we take things personally.
Mhm.
Is because, and we'll get into this when we look at it, is the mechanics wise, there are instances, and I'm going to say it this way, where one person owns a specific portion of energy depending on how they come together and connect. And the other person is at the mercy of that energy simply because, and we'll use an example, they have more of it than you do. And that's looking at it very simplistically, but that's basically the mechanics of it, is that those are the areas where you're going to, if you have less of the energy, and again, that's not necessarily the greatest terminology, but when you're being compromised, that is that is the terminology, and you have only half of a channel, whereas the other person has an entire channel, you are at the mercy of that person's energy and they own it. However, that is what your mind will get connected to, is like, wait, why is it always his needs that need to be met before mine? Well, it's because he owns the entire channel and you only have half of it.
Right, which again, once you know, if that's something you can know, if you can look at it and become have that unconscious material become conscious, then you can make a different choice about it.
Yes. And that's the whole point of this, is to understand, how do you continue to operate as yourself in this relationship and allow the other person to operate as themselves in this relationship, but also recognize that when you're together, you create a whole new quantum, a whole new persona that you both, provided you're open and willing, have the opportunity to learn how to operate within differently.
Yeah. Well, so let's look. I'm going to share.
Dive in.
We're going to do it because I tried to do this in the first episode of the year, but we hadn't figured out how to share things on Riverside yet. So here we are. Although where's my little cameras? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I can't see you. Where'd you go?
Here.
I trust you. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is me. I'm on the right side again. If you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, that's great. We're going to talk through it as much as we can. But if you want to go over to YouTube, to the Expansive CEO YouTube channel, and subscribe over there, then you can see what we're looking at, because it's pretty cool. So on the right side of the chart is me. So this is my whole chart, my manifesting generator ness. And then on the left side in orange is Lauren and her whole generator ness. In the middle, this middle chart shows what happens when you overlay one with the other and what connects. So you can see, for example, I have gate 16 coming off my throat, but I don't have gate 48. So we call it a hanging gate. So I have a hanging gate 16. Lauren has a hanging gate 48. And so when we come together, when you look in the middle, you can see my blue line here of the 16 and Lauren's orange line here of the 48. And then we create together that full channel of the wavelength. And when you look on here on this particular connection chart, this is the system that I like and use. It lists everything out. And spoiler alert, Lauren and I have an insane amount of electromagnetic channels. Like it's, when I pulled this, I was like, I've never seen this before.
Right. It is rare to have this many,
Mm-hmm.
which has its gifts and shadows, just like
Yeah.
anything else.
We're going to talk about it. But between the two of us, like just like the 16, gate 16 and gate 48, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 different channels that are created because we're together. Those are electromagnetic channels where I have one half and Lauren has the other half. We have 8 of those between our charts. And again, that is super rare. Most of the time when I pull a chart, sometimes there's none whatsoever. Sometimes there's 1 to 3, 1 to 4. I've maybe pulled 1 other or 2 other charts ever that have more electromagnetic than we have.
Yes.
So this is not typical, but when you pull a chart with your kid or with your business partner, with your spouse, with your significant other, whoever, you'll be able to see this too. What channels do you create together?
Yes. And important to call out because our minds go to the place of like, oh, if me and my partner, whatever partner that is, business really, romantic, whatever, oh my goodness, we have 0 electromagnetics. What does that mean? It just means you don't have channels that complete one another. And that's no worse or better than Hannah and me who create 8 of them together. Again, every situation has its ups and its downs, its black and its whites, its frequencies and other sides of the frequencies. Nothing about a relationship, however it comes together, is better or worse than how any other relationship comes together or energetic mashings come together. It's simply a roadmap that says, here's how your energy comes together. And here is what you experience when Hannah and Lauren are in the same room or, when we're connecting with one another. That's all it means. That's all it shows you is how you're experiencing yourself in the context of the other person, and the same for the other person is how are they experiencing themselves in the context of you. What are you taking in? What are you giving out? What's similar? What's different? And that's all it's telling you. And I think it's safe to say that relationships are a huge part of life and that we are all constantly racking our brains on how to make a relationship quote unquote better or more effective or whatever the case may be. A lot of it is simply understanding who you are here to be, who the other person is here to be, and how those things come together, and then making different choices on how to approach it differently based on
Right.
that energy.
Yeah. And it gives you the information that maybe you have been missing for a long
Right.
time about
Yeah.
why certain things work and why certain things don't,
Yes.
why you have conflict around certain areas, um, on the flip side, why you have so much agreement on certain areas, or another really interesting note about our connection chart, when we have all of these electromagnetic channels, you can see here, but in the companionship channels, we have none. We don't Companionship channels mean you have the same channel. That means it's like a friendly energy. Like, oh, we both have that and we can see it about each other. And I know what that energy feels like and you know what it feels like. It's like a relation point kind of. We don't have any of those. All of our channels are different, which is so interesting.
Yes. But it's a great call out because companionship is nice because again, you're sharing the same kind of energy, and you can ham it up. You can connect with each other in that respect. But there's always the flip side, right? Even when you have companionship and you're experiencing the same energy, they can be on wildly different lines. And so I'll use an example. I have the channel of judgment, a design of insatiability. My son, my oldest son has the same. My ex-husband had it. We had it on all different lines. So we were all judgy, and we're all judgy in different ways. And so it became, and I say judgy because we were all using it in the shadow. So I'll say that. But it's like judgment against judgment. It's like, no, what you are judging, no, I don't see that that is the right thing to judge. And it's like, oh, for the love of God. Okay. But it's understanding that. And when you understand that, you can say, oh, I'm seeing this judgment from my 1-3 point of view, because those are the lines that my 18 and my 58 are on. My son, and I can't remember what his is, I'm just going to make it up. He's seeing it from the 4-5 point of view. And my ex-husband was seeing it from the 6-1 point of view. Like, and it's all different. And again, just really hammering home, because a lot of people get real mentally wrapped up in seeing this in the very beginning of like, oh my God, what is wrong with my relationship? Truly nothing. I mean, it could be, and I'm going to say this, and this could put people on edge too. It might actually be the wrong relationship. But that doesn't mean the relationship is wrong, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It could just be that you entered into that relationship incorrectly, not following your strategy and authority. The other person wasn't following their strategy and authority. And so the relationship may not feel great, but that doesn't mean that how the energy comes together in that relationship is wrong. It's just how it comes together.
Right. Mhm. Absolutely. And that sometimes I've had the experience of reading reading a um partner's chart in such a way, that it's like they had it's a client of mine, and she was like, can you read, they're having issues. She's like, I'm just curious if we can look at their chart and our chart together. And I was able to look at it from a very objective view and say, oh, well, in their mechanics, I see this and this and these other things. And then the way you work, it looks like this and this and this other thing. And from that, like her response back was that felt so much more like not judgmental. There's like no judgment. Like that makes sense. It feels right. It's not an excuse,
Mm.
right? We're not making excuses for anything whatsoever. Everyone's responsible for how they show up in a relationship, but to give context without judgment helps you be able to then, again, open up the awareness, make what was unconscious conscious, what was unseen seen, so that you can then make more decisions from a place of actual knowledge and education, and truly be able to trust your authority. Like, okay, now that I have this information, what are we going to do with it?
Mhm.
So let's keep going through here and just kind of explain what we're seeing.
Yes.
Uh, the dominance channels, this chart calls it a dominance channel. Some other charts call it an education channel. It just means that so on the blue ones, I have that entire channel and Lauren doesn't have any part of it. And on the orange ones, Lauren has that entire channel and I don't have any part of it. I don't have either one of those gates. So we each have 3 of those
Yes.
where I own the whole energy or you own the whole energy of that
Yeah.
channel.
Yeah. And what that really means is you're absolutely right. And it's a great way to say it. A dominance channel simply means that one of us has it and the other doesn't. That's what we mean by dominant. Like it's there versus not. The the expansion of that is when it's called an education channel, is that's what it means, is that I'm here to learn from Hannah the channel of the beat, the keeper of the keys. Like what it means that in response, she then can find her own direction and then empower me and anybody else within that to, through that example of her doing it and the mutation of it, be like, oh, okay, that's what it means. On the flip side, it's Hannah has the opportunity to learn from me about the channel of acceptance and how concepts are organized and shared in response in the correct timing to support other people in being organized, accepting my opinions or not, and what that means and what that looks like. That's what I mean by dominance. She has it, I don't, or vice versa. And the education is we get to sit back in our energy of not having it and watch the other person bring that to life through their correct by following their strategy and authority.
Hmm. Yeah, and what's super interesting, I'll say the channel of the beat, or no, the channel of inspiration 1-8, um, is a really interesting one that we can maybe come back to, because that's been a really one for me to tap into and learn. I have that channel 1-8. That's very important. The channel of inspiration. It's like me moving from my internal inspiration and leading from a place of my internal inspiration. The leadership being, I'm not meant to like tell everyone how to do whatever they're going to do. I just got to do it.
Mhm.
And me doing that, me being myself as fully as I possibly can, is what helps other people see that they can also be themselves. And so that has been one that I've worked with quite a bit of
Yeah,
to accept for myself, because I think it's fully unconscious.
it is.
Yeah, that's a fully unconscious channel for me. Super interesting. And then the compromise channels next to that, that's where one of us has the whole channel and one of us only has half of it. So that's what Lauren was explaining before. You want to tap in there one more time?
Yeah. So you'll notice too, when if those of us who are looking at it visually, Hannah actually has more channels that compromise me. She has 3 channels that compromise me, whereas I have 1 channel that compromises her. Again, nothing about that is wrong. Hannah isn't necessarily more dominant in that respect. It's simply that I have the opportunity to be more conscious of, oh, this is where Hannah, quote unquote, runs the show energetically because she has the full channel. She has the full life force. I'm only experiencing half of that. And oftentimes, while it's a part of our energy, gates are only gates and kind of mean nothing if they're not necessarily connected. But a way that would look like is, for instance, using the channel of charisma. I have gate 34, whereas Hannah has 34 and 20, creating the gate of charisma. So, what that means for me on the end of being the one who has to kind of sit back and allow her the opportunity to be the charismatic one, to recognize what power turns into action, to look at how the expression of her response really looks like, and recognizing that doesn't diminish my power as an individual. It simply means that in connection to one another, I have the opportunity to go experience and express my power outside of her because she compromises me energetically in that specific space.
Hmm. And that can feel like I had I worked with a coach for a while when I was first learning human design, and noticing, again, we pulled my chart and Adam's chart together. And we had several places where, again, I have a lot more channels. I have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full
Yes.
channels,
Yeah.
which is quite a bit. Um, I think Adam only has 2 or 3. And so he has places where we compromised, right? Where I have the full channel, he has half. And one of the things that she mentioned was like there are times when like people don't want to be compromised. They'll feel that energy and they don't want to be compromised. So they will try to pull override
Yes.
in that spot. And so that can feel like a place where you're like trying to grab onto power, basically.
Yes, and it could be a point of frustration for me, right? So what it could feel like to me is like, why do we always have to do the things that Hannah wants to do? And I mean, like, that's the story my mind will make up. Or it's like, why does she always get to be the one that has the charisma? And why is it that she has? What it could also sound like for me is like, why is she so good at expressing that power? Why is she better at that than I am? And it's what happens in a compromise. Now, compromises are typically the places that if you're having trouble in any sort of relationship, the compromise is usually the first place I would look to say, are you having problems in this area? Because it's whatever the mind will make up is to say, why does she get it and I don't? Or why is it always on her terms and not mine? Look, that's how it's going to work energetically. I have to be humble enough. I have to be understanding enough to say, this isn't mine in this relationship. And that's okay. I get to go express it somewhere else, or I get to go experience it differently with someone else. And that's kind of the big like aha moment of relationships, is to recognize that, well, as a split definition, and we're going to talk about that in a later episode, I can appreciate the whole you complete me kind of idea. That's not what our relationships are for. Because the opposite is true. Because I compromise you in the channel of power, it's my intuition that I'm going to say wins. It's just easier to say it that way. You could be frustrated and angry of like, well, why is it always like whatever she has in the moment, it just kind of like pops up and that's what we go after? Or you might say, well, God, why is it that I can't have that?
Mm-hmm.
You're not here to have it. Right. And it's being able to completely reframe your perception of what a relationship is when you start to look at it through the lens of where you're compromised by somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And how you work through that together, if that's the way you want to move forward. Right. Like that, again, it gives you the ability to see what has been felt a lot of times. And I'll say too, usually when I'm introducing any of this, human design or gene keys, to an individual or to a couple, it's like it's giving a visual, and it's giving language to something that has been felt and known on the inside but couldn't be articulated. And so many times, just tears of recognition flow from people, because it's like, how are you telling me this thing that I felt that I couldn't make sense of, or I thought was wrong, or I thought I had to just swallow down and deal with? How are you putting words to that for me right now? And it's so empowering to, again, be able to see it and make the choice.
Because I was just going to say, in any sort of, again, relationships are like, that's why so much money is made in relationships, is like trying to figure them out. And this idea that perfection is the ultimate goal. Well, it is not, because you're not a perfect human being and I'm not a perfect human being, and that's not how this is designed to work. It's being able to, I look at it as like being able to bring humanity into a relationship and recognize that what you think you want out of another person, one, may not be possible, may not be accurate simply because of who they are energetically. And two, recognizing that there is an opportunity that once you're in a relationship, again, romantic, business, child, parent, friend, whatever, once you understand this, you have an opportunity to start approaching it from a very different way. starting with your strategy and authority, in honoring the other person's strategy and authority. I can't even tell you like how many people I've worked with from a relationship standpoint of like, just start asking questions or start inviting and see what happens.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, truly, the practice of it isn't hard. You just have to try, and be willing to try
Right.
something, maybe something different than what you've been told before, right? Which is
Right.
the whole point. Well, and then when we get to all the way over here, we went right to left. We got all the way over to the left here, the connection theme. These ones will freak people out too. And I'm not going to show other ones because I don't have express permission from other people to show
Yes.
their charts, right? So, but between the two of us, there are 9 centers. We define 8. And so the crown is undefined. You see it's still white up here on the chart, but our connection theme is 8-1, means 8 defined, 1 undefined, 8-1, have some fun. And these are hilarious. Uh 'Cause the 9-0, if it's 9, everything is filled in. It's 9-0, nowhere to go. There's no, like, you're complete,
Yeah,
quote unquote.
complete. Yeah. What it means is like no one else can get in when you're together energetically.
Mhm.
Like you may have a split definition. So someone, yeah, you could still have, I'm sorry, I think through that. Yeah, you could still have a split definition, but all of the energy is defined. So it's really hard for someone else to get in. 7 and 2 is you have work to do. The two centers that, and it simply means that, the less that is defined, I'll say it this way, it's kind of the more work you may have to do inside of your relationship. 6 and 3 is better to be free. 5 and 4 is relationship no more. However, those are tongue in cheek. Those were brought forth by Ra, who is here to be shocking, who is here to, kind of put people on edge with his ego. And that's exactly what he did as the kind of messenger of human design. In You can tell I get on my soapbox about this. It's not as if a relationship is bad or wrong depending on the configuration. It simply means there may just be more to understand and there may be more to work on or different strategies to incorporate in order to ensure that that relationship is correct for you. And I also want to point out that just because a relationship is hard does not make it incorrect. And just because a relationship is easy doesn't mean it's correct.
Yep. Yeah, it's again, how do you, or are you able to show up fully as yourself? How much work do you have to do to be able to show up fully as yourself? Um, how much space do you make for your partner? How much space does your partner make for you to be fully yourself? And what work do you have to do to achieve that? Is what that feels like to me.
Mhm.
And a
Yeah.
lot of the work that I've done personally, right? Is like, what do I have to do to feel safe to show up as me? And on my husband's side, let him show up as him on his side. How does he support me to show up as me? All of that is necessary. I will say that, like, unequivocally, that is necessary for a long-term partnership to last and for you to feel good inside of it.
Right. Yes. Looking at a relationship through the lens of human design or gene keys pretty much debunks or flies in the face of almost everything you see on social media in terms of how best to approach and make relationships effective.
How so? Tell me more. That was a juicy.
Yeah. So, if you, oh God, now my phone's gonna be on alert about relationships because it's around in Instagram and TikTok.
Listening.
This is fun, but it's kind of, so for instance, right, this whole about like setting boundaries, right? 100%. I will never tell anyone that setting boundaries and understanding what you want and what is really important to you is not is the wrong thing to do. But the way that it's presented is like if someone disrespects your boundaries, that's an automatic done, we're out kind of thing. What I mean by this information completely debunks it. I shouldn't say completely. It flies in the face of conventional wisdom because it literally pinpoints where you're going to have friction. In this idea and what's put out there is that everybody who has these beautiful and flourishing relationships and they're quote unquote perfect and in the highlight reel, first of all, we all know that's a bunch of bullshit. We know it's a bunch of bullshit. We just love to see it because we believe that that is the end goal. No, the end goal is to feel whole in your relationship. And the end goal is for the other person to feel whole in their relationship. And that might mean there's a lot of shit that goes on that you got to deal with, that you have to work through, that you have to shift how you approach the relationship. You're like, I hate the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. No. The platinum rule. Treat people how they have communicated to you is correct for them to be treated.
Mm. Yeah.
That doesn't mean dishonoring yourself. It simply means you have to find, if you're willing and you want to stay in this relationship, you have to be willing to shift how you approach things, how you see the relationship, what the ultimate end game is for the relationship, and to recognize that, yeah, there may be parts of your energy that just, they're never going to mesh, and that's okay. You go find that somewhere else
Hmm.
with someone else to feed that energetic requirement inside of you that the other person can't meet.
To be clear, we are not promoting or saying anything about monogamy, non-monogamy, and
No.
relationship statuses, anything like that. Like that is not what this is about. You can take that and say, literally, like friendships
Yes.
or improving relationships at work or whatever it is, right? It's saying that this energy requirement for you exists. And if the person who you're maybe married to or partnered to doesn't have that energy, yeah, maybe you do need to like go out and make friends.
Yes. Thank you
Go
for that
join a
caveat.
community.
Thank you for that caveat. I am not advocating or not advocating for one way to approach a relationship,
Y'all
romantic.
do you.
Y'all do you. I don't care what you do. It's simply the soapbox is more about there is a different way to look at relationships, and it's going to require a lot more awareness. It's going to require a lot more understanding. It's going to require a lot more work, and that's okay. Again, ease and flow aren't necessarily the only things we have to experience in life.
Yeah. Yes. I'm going to put a pin in that because I'm going to come back to it in just a second. But the last little piece that I wanted to call out, and we're going to talk about more about this next week. So definitely tune in. The definition of our chart together is single. But when you look here for each of us, our actual, like our individual definition is split. We each have a small split. And then when our charts come together, the definition is single. Let me tell you what that means really quickly. For me, on my chart, I have the 4426 channel, and that connects my ego to my spleen. That is a closed circuit. Those two connect to each other. They don't connect to anything else. Then I also have my sacral is connected to my G, is connected to my throat. And so that circuit of 3, I can draw a line with my mouse and it all connects. I don't have to pick up my mouse anywhere. But I have a break at the, what is that one? The 27. I have a break at the 48. I have a break, it could also be the 57, right? So on all of those gates, that's where the energy is split so that those I can't make a continuous loop through all my centers. Lauren is the same way. She has the spleen, the sacral, and the root all connected. You can keep your mouse, drag it around, and it's all connected. And then ajna and throat are connected, but there's not a connection there, and that's at either gate 16 or gate 20. Those are the two that are the splits in the energy. So you can make a line. Lauren's is a lot easier to see than mine. You can go and make just a line, you can see. So, but when we come together, when our charts come together, I can draw a continuous line around the entire chart and make it to every single center without having to pick up my mouse. And so that means it's single definition. So one is not better than the other, but they are very different. You can be small split, like we each have. One little single gate will fix it, quote unquote. I use the word fix it.
Right.
One single gate will change it. Or you can have a large split where you have to have at least a whole channel to get you up to that next bridge that split. You can have 2 splits, you can have a triple split, you can have a quad split, you can have all of these different ways of your energy kind of being bifurcated between different centers. How much I don't know how much we want to go into it. Do you want to say anything else about that right now? Or what do you want to say?
Yeah. Well, God, we could spend a whole episode on that. To Hannah's point. Yeah, next week or the week after that. To Hannah's point, a single definition isn't better or worse than any other. It can be cleaner to operate together because our energy creates a continuous loop with one another. Again, that doesn't mean it makes a better relationship. It simply means that we can operate differently than somebody who, when they come together, has a simple split or a large split or a triple split or a quad split. Like it just means different approaches. What I also want to call out is this idea that, when Hannah in and of herself, and I'll speak very generally, you are an individual here to explore what it means to follow your own higher principles and express your own unique, charismatic direction in support of willfully manipulating the tribe to try something new. You're this very powerful individual within the tribe. That's who you are simplistically in and of yourself. I am someone who is here to instinctively respond to keep myself safe with the potential to recognize what about the collective patterns aren't working in order to support the tribe and rising up on the material plane. And when in the presence of the correct people, express my organization of what's working, what isn't, in order to move forward. Those are who we are separately. But when you bring us together, we are a completely different quantum that now brings together. We haven't talked about this, is like our charts bring together the format energies, which creates a very significant influence on who we are together, of this mutative concentration on going through the entire cycle while being able to recognize what needs not only do we, but other people that we serve or connect with in our tribe need to connect us, and making sure we're all taking care of one another, fighting for purpose and making sure that life is of value while being the creative role model and charismatic and the person who, I mean, that's what really is the beauty part of it, is like when you look at each other, who we are as individuals, and then you bring it together and say, oh, this is what this entity really is here to contribute to the world when they come together.
Mhm.
That's the beauty of the relationship.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yeah, and again, we have a couple of weeks to really dive into this. So this isn't we get to keep going more. But I wanted to circle back to it doesn't mean that the relationship, like if it's easy, it's better.
Yes.
Um, from a self love, self acceptance, self belief, um, self expression standpoint. Again, these are within my chart. These are really, really important factors that I've had to work on, continue to work on, um, and for my whole life, that'll be a thing, right? That I am continuously working through. A lot of times when things seem easy, it's because you are not speaking up for yourself, and that piece right there, that's like you're making it easy so that you don't cause conflict. You're making it easy. It feels easy because you're constantly putting yourself second or last. And so just because something's easy doesn't, like we've been saying, doesn't make it correct. And when you start to understand yourself and you start to speak up and you start to feel the truth of who you are, that can be scary sometimes because you are going from, oh, it was so easy because I wasn't being true to me. I was subordinating my truth for ease. Could be people pleasing, but it's like even people pleasing I don't think really captures it well.
Oh, no.
I don't I mean, like there's that concept kind of applies, but it's deeper. It's
Deeper.
it's self-abandonment is what it
Yes.
is. That's the word that
Yes.
I was searching for. You abandon yourself in order for things to feel easier.
Yeah. And I would say someone who has lived that life, nothing about it is easy. It may feel quote unquote easy for a while. And then after so much of self abandoning or self ignoring, that's when the weight really starts settling in. And a caveat in all of this is that be cautious when when you start down a self awareness journey, that as you start to see yourself more clearly, how you view other people might change because you now see yourself differently in the context with that person, because you now have a deeper awareness of who you are, that your relationships might change. Could be for the better. And that is always the end. But recognize that, just, when you have the courage to see yourself, you might disrupt relationships in your life that you could learn over time may not be correct for you. And while it may be hard to get through and change and shift and potentially walk away from those relationships, that you know that is what life is. And self-awareness can bring a lot of challenges in the short term. to bring a lot of benefits in the long term.
Absolutely. And I say that with the again, the experience having gone through um a lot of learning, a lot of challenge, a lot of deep, important, healing conversations with people that I love. Like I have been through it and continue to go through it. And it's not to say, yeah, I mean, like, honestly, my marriage is the best it's ever been in 20, it'll be 25 years this year.
Yeah.
20 our 20th year wedding anniversary, 25 years together. Um, but it went through hard shifts, right? Of understanding and like really truly letting each other be who we are.
Mhm.
Um, and it's so much better. It's
Mhm.
so much better on the other side.
Mhm.
Really, I could do an entire podcast. I could write a whole book about that. It's so much better. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's a commitment to being fully you. Again, allowing the other person to be fully them, to seeing their gifts, um, expressing your gifts, right? And just learning how to do that dance together. Um, and it's the I think it's the most worthwhile work we can do, especially right now when like this sense of community collectively is so fractured and so hurt. And so people feel more isolated than ever. And a lot of Gen Z, Gen Alpha are beautiful, beautiful younger generations
Mhm.
are kind of wanting to opt out. And it's understandable
Yeah.
because
I laugh simply because it's heartbreaking.
yeah. And it's you can see why. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
I I fully understand why. Um, because they haven't it hasn't been modeled to them. Like, how do you repair? How do you allow each of you to be, like you said before, for you to be whole in a relationship? It's not 50-50. It's how can you be 100 and your partner be 100? How can you both bring your full selves into a relationship? That hasn't been modeled hardly at all. And so like the option now, right? Finally, in the 70s, people started getting divorced more easily. And like there's been a lot of really important things that have come from that, from like, hey, you know what? You got to show up. Everyone needs to pull their weight and pitch in and be a good partner. But we haven't shown the other side very well of like, here's what it looks like when we do that. And so I like, to me, this feels like such an important moment too, to help our up and comers, our next generations, like say, hey, what does it look like if you know yourself and your partner knows themselves and you get to be yourselves together? What if you have a relationship like that?
Yes. And that leads me back to what I was saying, that a lot of what we talk about is debunking what you see on the internet. Like, so for instance, like the word narcissist is thrown around at every corner. Not everyone is a narcissist. And simply because they display narcissistic behavior might actually be rooted in their energy somewhere. Also, their conditioning plays a huge role in that, just as your conditioning plays a huge role in how you show up in a relationship. And back to what you're saying, the modeling hasn't been there. We were all raised by people who had no idea what the hell they were doing. And I don't say that with any
No
blame,
balance.
blame again. I mean, hello, I'm a mother. I'm sure I'm fucking up my children, and I'm as self-aware as I possibly can be at this moment. But recognize sometimes the interjection or the connection of energy brings things up that you can't always control until you understand it. And even then, you can't always necessarily control it, but you can model it differently to provide an example to the next generations. And to your point, how do we say it's not 50-50, it's 100 and 100, and that comes together into a whole new quantum? It's not 50 and 50, 100, it's 100, 100, 100.
Yeah.
Different kind of 100.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, I'm so excited to keep going on this topic. There's again, we're going to talk about splits this next time. Super excited about that.
We're excited about that. So 41% of the population is a split definition. We need 40% of the population tuning in.
Is that it? So 59% is single definition?
Or triple. So 40,
Oh,
I think it's like even, somewhat even between splits and singles. And then the remaining is triple split and quad splits.
okay.
Yeah. So when we talk about split definition, we'll only focus on simple and wide, because getting triples and quads in there, people's heads would explode. So we'll keep it simple, and we'll focus on the good portion of the world, because energetically those splits, whoo,
It's going to be super good. And we also want to direct your attention this month again, since we've got two things. So it's February. This is coming out February 10th. If you're listening when we are dropping the episode. So we have on February 17th, there is a new moon in Pisces and an eclipse. And this is a really beautiful time to start planting some seeds for what we want the collective to experience next. Dream up the future that we create together. And this is especially at this moment in time. This is so important for those of us who have the presence to bring that. Like, what is our highest and best dream for our lives, for our families, and for the collective? Let's plant those seeds together. So we are doing our relaunch event, our Expansive CEO relaunch, on February 17th at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, 2 Central. Don't get them. If you're somewhere else in the world, hopefully it works too. Um, so you can get that link in the show notes. If you get the newsletter, it's also in the newsletter from January, the link to sign up. Or you can send us an email and we will gladly send you the registration link. So that's free. We're going to talk about your moon placements a little bit, how that works, how the moon energy works in your chart, how we work with a new moon and a full moon and all that. And then we'll do some love seats. So we'll have 90 minutes. If you have some questions, bring your questions. We would absolutely love to respond to your questions and do, about 10-minute love seats for as many people as have questions. So we would love to see you there. And then we are highlighting in the month of February our partnership package. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
yeah. So this is where we'll run through, whether it be from a human design gene keys or potentially a mixture of the two, of how your energies come together in a partnership. And, while we focus on obviously entrepreneurs and business owners, we also recognize having, romantic partners, that the dynamics of that relationship can influence one way or the other your performance within your business. So we are open to looking at whatever partnership is most meaningful to you, to support you in understanding, hey, here's how the energy mechanics come together, and start working on strategies in terms of how to, whatever your goals are, to then approach the relationship through the lens of your goals, and supporting you through that.
It's super, super powerful. This work is so phenomenal. And again, we can do that for business partners. If you work in a partnership or you have, uh, like a very central leadership team, we can definitely look at that. And then romantic partners as well. If you live together, work, shoulder to shoulder, raising kids, whatever the thing is that you're doing together. Um, and especially, and I actually have several couples who fit this mold. If you're if you're both business owners and you're a couple or you work
Yes.
together, right? Like there's so
Yeah.
many dynamics. That's definitely a niche that I have as well, which is super interesting. Um, but this is a really, really awesome way to understand your energy. So there's a reading for each person, yours, mine, and ours, basically, right? So person one has their own time, person two has their own time. Then there's a full session for you together on how your connection chart looks and works. And then ongoing support from there at whatever level that you desire that we can tailor from there. But yeah, it's really, really powerful to know yourself, to know your spouse or your partner, um, and then to see the energy together and how it works. So that is on the Expansive CEO website. On the coaching drop down, you will see partnership reading, partnership package, I think it's called.
Yeah, partnership package.
And so reach out that one. Do we have that one available just for purchase or is that the jump on a call?
I think it's jump on a call.
Okay. Yep. So you can jump on a call with Lauren, talk about it, and see if that's the right fit for you.
Yes.
Um,
And
anything else?
caveat, to be in a relationship for at least 6 months. So
There
you
you go.
so that you have, an understanding of kind of how the dynamics have worked up to this point. And it's usually at 6 months where things start to maybe go a little haywire.
Reveal themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things come bubbling up.
Good, good. All right. Well, we are going to wrap that one up for today. So look for that link to the relaunch event on February 17th. We would love to see you there. Um, share that with anyone else that you think might be interested in what we're doing here. And then partnership. We're focusing on partnerships. If you have any questions, if something comes up, if you are like, hey, what about this thing? Or hey, this weird piece shows up in my relate. What does that look like? Send us your questions. We would love, love, love to do an episode around that as well.
Yes.
All right. That's it. We will see you next week.
Bye, friends.